It's the question that I'm asked the most often. Which niche is the hottest for a SaaS marketing agency in 2024? In this video, I'm going to dive into exactly how we identify a strong niche that our offer is actually going to sell in. And that's the key word, something where it will actually sell. Now, this video is the second in our SaaS Continuum series. So if you haven't watched the first one, I'm going to link it on this video. Watch that one first and then watch this niche selection video. It's going to make the most sense if you do it that way. So watch that one first and come back and dive into this video. So the process of niche selection is going to be a little bit counterintuitive. It's going to go against the process that you normally hear when it comes to niche selection. We approach this a little bit differently than most do. And people often wonder, should they narrow down, should they niche down into a specific market, or should they go broad? Well, the answer to this is that you should narrow down into a niche, but a niche isn't defined the way you might think it is. Most of the time, people pick a niche by choosing a business sector like dentists or chiropractors or plumbers or roofers and so on, or even e-commerce. They select a market like this, and then they try to sell their software or even their service into this market. So they pick the market and then try to provide the service. Creates a bit of a problem because they're just selling the software into a market, hoping there's demand. There is no pre-existing demand. They're trying to create the demand themselves. Again, it causes a bit of an issue. So they're looking for business owners in this niche. So if, let's say dentists, so they're looking for dentists who are problem aware. They know they need a software like GoHighLevel. Let's take the example of database reactivation, right? So if you were selling database reactivation as the primary focus of GoHighLevel, well, a problem-aware market is if they have a big list of leads and they're sitting there and they think, you know what, I've got a problem because I've got all of these leads sitting here and I'm not making any money out of them. I'm sure there's a lot of money left on the table. I don't know what to do, but I know I've got a problem. Then you've got the other side, the next part, the next stage of that market, which is solution aware. And this is a segment of the market who know they have a problem. So they've got that list of leads. They know that they're not making money out of that list of leads. And they know that there's software out there that will reactivate the database for them, right? There's vendors, there's marketing companies that will reactivate this for them. They just need to pick the right solution. They've got to pick the right vendor, which sounds great, right? They know they've got a problem. They know what the solution is, and you can be positioned as the solution. The issue is this means you're niching down. So you're picking dentists, number one. Then you're working on the problem. So only with people who have a problem and know they have a problem. And then you're looking for people who are also solution aware. So your market is just shrinking every single time. This means that you're going to struggle to sell because you're only working with such a small portion of the market. And you're also going to struggle to scale because there's just not enough problem and solution aware people out there. This is why you see so many people in this industry get 5 or 10 subscribers or maybe 5 or 10 clients, and then they start to struggle. The market becomes so small because they chose a market and then decided what to sell to that market. So they pick the market first and then they find a service to sell to the market. We need to flip a niche on its head and basically work backwards here. So first of all, your niche is actually a problem that you can solve. This sentence is the secret. It makes all the difference when it comes to your success rates. Your niche is a problem that you solve. Your target market are subsets of that niche that have the problem that you can solve. So your target market have the problem that you can solve. It's not dentists, it's not chiropractors, it's people, let's say, that have large lists of leads. You can solve the problem of large lead lists and reactivating them. But in order to do this, you need to realize that that is your market. Your niche is companies who have the large lead list problem. That's your niche. Then you can find, okay, well, I want to work in a subset of that. I want to work with dentists who have that problem and then provide the solution. That's the secret. Rather than trying to pick a niche and create demand for it, we find a problem that has demand to solve, then we select a specific market that shares that problem. We basically go to the demand. We don't try and find a market, then hope there's demand there for the service or create the demand. We go to where the demand is. Now, in the first video, the video I posted a few days ago, I mentioned something called the SAAS Continuum. I showed you this process. This is a lead generation system that we created with GoHighLevel and LinkedIn. And this is a prime example of how we basically created the niche by focusing on the problem. So just to give you a brief overview of the SAAS Continuum, basically this was a process that we sold, and it was in the insurance space, which I'm going to explain in a few seconds. But the process was LinkedIn lead generation. That was over here with your 500 new leads per month. And then you've got your existing leads, so database reactivation in here. So the business owner brings or has new leads coming into their pipeline through LinkedIn services, LinkedIn automation. We have a new lead nurture system in place, which books them in for phone calls. Sometimes the lead from LinkedIn will book in straight away. If they don't book in through the lead nurture system, they are pushed into a value-based email sequence. They can also book in there. If they don't book in, they're moved into a long tail 30-day follow-up, and they can book in once again. If they still don't book in at this point, they basically go into the dead lead pile, and we reactivate them using database reactivation, which we can book in once again. And they just go around this cycle. Then, of course, they can pour their existing leads into this process for database reactivation. If they book a call, great. If not, they go into the value-based sequence, book a call, yes or no. If yes, if no, rather, they go into the long tail sequence and back in, and just basically are stuck in this cycle until they do convert. So that was the process that we created, LinkedIn and database reactivation combined together. Now, I'm not selling database reactivation here. This is a bonus. This is a profit booster, as I would call it with the prospect. This is simply a profit booster. This is their primary focus. But what you'll notice on this is at no point do I mention LinkedIn. I don't really mention database reactivation. The only thing your eyes, if you look at that image, and at least for myself, and also for the 152 prospects I spoke to on sales calls in the first 2 weeks, everyone's eyes gravitate towards the green boxes. And now, what are the green boxes? Well, every one of them says immediately book appointments. And this is what the business owner wants. So they see this system, and then their eyes gravitate towards the green box, which is what they want, their desired outcome. I'm not focused on the how-to or the tools and the bells and the whistles. I'm focusing on the green boxes here. Now, I want you to think about objection stripping as well, which I'm going to come on to. In this process, what I've done is any objection that prospect might have based on working with other people, based on their previous experiences or their conversations with leads, I've stripped them away. So lead comes in, is the lead going to book in immediately? Yes, great, perfect. If not, what happens then? Well, they go into the nurture system because it improves the quality of the leads and gets them moved along the decision-making pipeline until they're ready to buy. Great, but what happens if they still don't buy? Well, they go into a value-based sequence where we earn their trust. Then they can book in again. If not, they go into a longer tail sequence where we nurture that relationship, because in any market, there's also a big component of being in the right place at the right time. If your client, or if you are just in the right place, if you're there when that prospect, in this case, thinks about needing life insurance, because you are there, you're the easy option. They're going to come to you. So I make sure you're in the right place at the right time all the time. So where these leads typically fall off or the lead quality is low, we are taking those concepts or taking those common objections, and we're taking them away. Before they've even given me the objection, I'm stripping it away. I'm solving the problem before they even ask me about the problem. So this little diagram says a lot more than you might think it does just by the way it's designed. So this is the automated continuum. So let's move on. We basically created a lead generation machine here. This created a solution for a problem. Our niche was business owners and life insurance agents who wanted leads that could be targeted by financial parameters. So obviously in life insurance, they want leads that have a higher salary, that are in a specific age range because the premiums are often, or long-term premiums are better, and it's easier to sell. The niche was also markets who have a large list of dead leads. So that was my market. I'm not looking at life insurance right now. I'm not thinking I'm going to solve the problem in the life insurance market. What I'm thinking is, okay, I can provide financially qualified leads because I can, on LinkedIn, filter by job titles and such. I can make sure they've got a certain level of status, right? And also, I've got a solution for dead leads. So I want business owners who deal with a high volume of leads. That's another parameter of my market. So these are two problems. They want financial qualification. They've got lists of dead leads. I then design a solution, which is the SAAS Continuum, to solve that problem. Then it comes down to actually working on the niche itself, the subset of each, how I select that. So we built a system to drive new leads based on expected financial qualification, and also a way to reactivate old leads through their lead list. This was the niche. The subset behind that niche could be a variety of different markets. It could be a mortgage broker, it could be real estate agents, med spas, car dealerships, and so on. All of these markets have those problems. So I could have went into any of those. Why did I choose life insurance? They had a list of leads. They wanted leads with financial qualifications, so they've got the problem that I want to solve. But the one thing I really liked was the size of the market. It's huge. The life insurance space has something like 1 million plus agents across the US. So I like the volume. I thought it'd be easier if I just go for the volume. I didn't know anything about life insurance. I actually knew nothing. I thought it was just life insurance. I didn't know that something called final expense insurance was super popular. Had no idea. Literally didn't even know what it was. When I learned what it was actually on a sales call where the prospect told me what it was and incorporated it into my pitch. So I had no idea, no experience in that space whatsoever. Now, we could do the same and take this model and flip it into mortgage brokers. Same thing with financial advisors or car dealerships. The process never changes. It always remains the same. We can do this because we didn't pick a niche. I wasn't niche locked. We don't pick a niche and we build a process instead. A process to fix a problem, then we go to markets with those specific problems. So there's already demand there. That's the secret. We become experts in this system rather than boxing ourselves in as niche experts, which can cause a lot of issues. This allows us for greater scale because we can choose a large market. And as I said, the reason we chose life insurance was because it was something like 1 million plus agents across the US. I like those numbers. I thought if I get 1,000 plus subscribers, excellent. That's all I need. I don't need more than that. So perfect. That's why we chose life insurance after going down through our subset. So when you're selecting a niche, you've got to go through this process. First step is identifying a larger scale problem, usually lead generation, because it's the immediate concern of the business owner. I talk about this quite a lot in a lot of my videos. It's the core problem. They wake up every day, they look at their calendar, they look at their sales, they look at whatever, and they realize that they need more sales. So it's a problem that they are reminded of every single day. So I'm always usually going to gravitate towards, I want to identify a larger scale problem that I can solve. Then I've got a step number 2, devise a strategy to solve that problem, like this automated SAAS Continuum I showed you earlier. That's a solution to a lead generation problem. Then I'm going to strip out prospects' objections using this strategy. Again, think about the continuum, how at various stages of the journey, I can if the objection is what happens to the leads, they're not qualified enough, well, they go through value sequences, they go through nurture to move them down the decision making pipeline. A qualified lead is someone usually classified as someone who's ready to buy. That might not be qualification from a logical sense, but from a business owner's perspective, in their head, a lead who wants to buy is qualified, and a lead who doesn't want to buy isn't qualified. It doesn't matter about they're never going to blame their own sales process. So instead of fighting against this and causing problems, we just run with it, and that's what I deal with. So, okay, I'm going to strip out those problems, and I'm going to make sure that I'm moving that person across along the decision-making pipeline, getting them warmed up, getting them ready to make that decision, and I can then use the diagram that I showed you, the continuum, to strip out those objections. Step number 4 is when this has been mapped out, we've got to identify subset markets that have the specific problem that you can solve. So I'm not picking a market, I'm finding the problem, creating the problem, solving the problem with a system, and then finding markets that have that problem so I can offer them the system. Now, with this strategy and system, you build your sales funnel and your lead generation process around the system with a specific market in mind. So that's pretty key here. You've got to build the system and build the marketing material around that specific market. So my sales funnel or my ad campaigns or whatever, outbound prospecting, whatever that may be, all of that is going to focus on that particular market. So that could be life insurance, right? So my branding, everything is going to say life insurance. But remember, the system remains the same. I can then flip that into different markets because the process is the same. So I could just change my branding to financial advisors, which I did. I can change it to accountants. I can change it to mortgage brokers. All I have to do is flip the branding because the problem always remains the same, as does the solution. That is the key. That's the key to speed. That's why we can replicate this process across multiple different niches, because it isn't about the niche. It's about the problem and the solution. The niche is literally just the packaging that we wrap it up in. Now, the most important steps here are steps 1 to 4. If you nail those, life becomes a lot easier. The reason I'm telling you to do it in this order is because if you don't do it in this order and you just try to go to a market or go to dentists and try and sell software, it's not going to sell. I'm trying to position you so your offer actually sells. Now, what would you rather? You chose the perfect niche because you're passionate about it, or you fixed the problem with your solution and then went to different niches and you actually sold and built subscribers and built monthly recurring revenue because you're positioned to sell? Which one would you rather? So that's the reality, right? And there's no problem going to the dentist niche because you love dentists and trying to build a solution. Fine. But my focus here is on making those sales and actually helping you make that progress. So if you want to make sales, follow this process and do steps 1 through 4. So instead of trying to find that niche, we create a solution to a problem and then we go to industries with that problem. The problem becomes our niche. Now, when it comes to creating the solution, there's one key component that links everything together here. It's all based on the type of lead or sale that they're looking for. For example, the SAAS Continuum I created, that wouldn't fit the process, wouldn't fit the plumbing market or the storm repair market. It wouldn't fit it. If I created a system, however, that instead of using LinkedIn, I use Google Ads, I solve problems for business owners that have what we call need-based search, right? So, for example, the customer has a problem, they've got a burst pipe or something like that, or the bath is blocked, the showers, well, whatever. The pipes are blocked or the pipes are frozen. They have a problem. So what's the first thing they do? Well, they usually go to Google and they search for a solution for the problem. There's someone that can help them, a plumber, right? That's a need-based problem. They're going to Google search. So for those types of industries like plumbing or storm repair, or even electricians and things like that, where they're need-based, instead of using LinkedIn, all I have to do is switch my traffic source to Google Ads. So I could use that. I could turn that system into one for plumbers just by changing the traffic source. If I created that with Google Ads and database reactivation, it opens up the plumbing market, roofing, storm repair, and any other need-based service. If I use YouTube ads or Facebook ads as my traffic source and combine my solution with a call booking funnel, it solves a problem for companies that take sales calls online, like coaches or consultants. So the key here is understanding that you need to find the specific problem and then create the solution around it. This then identifies your niche for you and it ensures that you're positioned to sell. That's the secret. Could you pick a niche like car dealerships and go out tomorrow trying to sell the software? Of course you could, and so many people do it. Will it sell? Probably not. You're probably going to have a lot of pushback, a lot of competition. So you need to make the decision. Do you want to build to sell, or do you want to just take the chance and build? That's the reality, right? So it just depends. The key is to build a system. The key is to find a problem, build a system. What that solution actually looks like can vary, right? If you use the continuum that I created, then you can just change the traffic source on the front end. It could be Facebook ads and YouTube ads for online coaches. It could be Google ads instead of LinkedIn for storm repair plumbers. It could be LinkedIn for mortgage brokers. It could even be Facebook ads for mortgage brokers and such. It just depends on the traffic source. That's the only thing that changes. It can be multiple traffic sources if you want it to be. I do that too. So if you were to go to ChatGPT just now and ask it to pick a niche for you, you're going to get nonsense back. However, if you use this process, you can leverage AI and you can leverage ChatGPT to help you pick your niche. because you've identified the problem that you solve as well as the needs of the business. You can ask ChatGPT for a list of businesses who have this problem. This is a much more focused list. If you just ask it for a niche, it's going to give you nonsense, right? Just a list of businesses that mean nothing. If you say, I fix this particular problem, tell me what businesses have this problem, you're going to get a much more focused list. It's going to be much higher quality. You can then choose the niche, your specific subset niche from this list with confidence because you know that your offer is going to sell because you built it the right way. That's the secret. That's what you've got to do. So if you're searching for your niche, you've got to carry out steps 1 to 5 and ask ChatGPT for recommendations based on your problem and your solution. It must be in this order. Then you can base it on market size, competition in the market, or whatever your preference is. So that's where your choice comes into play. But you have to create the problem and solution first. You must create that first. Then you can choose whatever market from that problem and solution. What that opens up, the markets that opens up for you, you can then choose based on whatever your preference is. If you like working with houses or real estate agents, or you like working with plumbers or whatever that might be. But start with the processes 1 through 5 first, and you'll be so much further ahead. This is how you choose your niche. There's no secret niche that's in demand. There are problems that are in demand, however. Lead generation is a problem that is always in demand. If you create a system that solves this specific problem, then select a niche with that problem, you have a hot niche with existing demand in it. This is the secret. This is how you do it. Build the systems to solve a problem. Then identify markets with those specific problems. The hottest problems to focus on are a combination of new leads and reactivating old leads. Do not focus on just database reactivation. It won't work. You have to have that combination, new plus old. The old leads, the database reactivation, is just a profit booster. That's the key. It builds the bottom line. What they're going to be attracted to, what they're going to gravitate towards are the new leads every time. Reactivation is a profit boosting bonus for businesses, but it does solve a problem for them. We just have to ensure we solve the priority 1 problem of new leads first. So always solve the problem of new leads first. That's it. Carry out steps 1 to 5. And in the next video, I'm going to dive into how we generate leads once we have identified those niches. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. If you like this type of content, like the video to let me know and subscribe to my channel for the next video in the series.